It was a rainy Saturday at Road America Racecourse in Wisconsin last weekend, causing a long delay for the USF 2000 race number 9. When the race was finally ready to go green, the J. Howard Driver Development number 6, driven by Loveland's own Evagoras Papasavvas, suffered an electronic control unit failure and did not start, despite frantic efforts by team mechanics to get it going. Hello everybody, I'm Chuck Gibson, and this is another Evagoras Papasavvas Racing Race Recap on Loveland Beacon Talks Sports Special. It wasn't all rain and trouble for Evagoras as he bounced back for another top 5 finish in race number 10 on Sunday at Road America. Let's get right to Evagoras now with his racing story. Welcome back, Evagoras Papasavvas. Hey, welcome back home from that road trip to Wisconsin and Road America. And welcome once again to, we call it Evagoras Papasavvas Racing Race Recap here on Loveland Beacon Sports Special. So, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Chuck. How about you?
With the weather we've had here in Cincinnati the last couple of days, I'm doing great. I mean, lots of sunshine. It might be starting to get a little hot, though. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I think it's getting a little bit hot for sure. But yeah, I mean, my dog, he's been outside and he's been really feeling the heat. So.
Oh my man! With all that hair on that golden retriever, he has got to be hot.
Yeah, for sure.
So the question is, at least for you, I don't know about Kobe, but at least for you, there's a swimming pool somewhere that you're able to jump into, right?
Yep, there is. So I'm definitely going to be doing that a lot these next few weeks.
Yeah, swimming sounds good. Well, hey, I'm just going to stick this in just for fun. So your good buddy here, Chuck, while you get a little bit of a break between now and, races 11, 12, and 13, which take place July 4th through 7th at Mid-Ohio, while you get a little break between now and then, I am going to be busier than ever on the baseball field, playing my role as Crazy Legs with the 1869 vintage Cincinnati Red Stockings. So I hope you'll say some prayers for me when we're we are playing Saturday, and it's supposed to be, I believe, well into the 90s. So,
wow,
going to be a hot one Saturday down in at Shaker Village in near Harrodsburg, Kentucky.
Yeah, and actually, the next race at Mid-Ohio, that is, I think, in my opinion, the hottest race of the year. Even though it's a little bit more north than you would think for a hot race.
Right.
Just because of the humidity, and it's the first week in July, so it's the middle of summer, and the humidity is just really, really crazy.
Yeah, I can believe that if the weather holds up for that, that period of time, summer in Ohio, in Mid-Ohio, yeah, I'll bet, you're going to be dealing with the humidity and probably some pretty intense heat as well. While we're talking about that, Evagoras, before we get back to the real race recap from this past week at Road America, what's that like in the cockpit, in that driver's suit and with that helmet when you're dealing with, heat and humidity and the heat that radiates up off the track surface itself? What's that like?
Yeah, so actually, at least what I think is that the worst part is actually not when you're driving, for multiple reasons, right? Because you're so focused when you're driving, and then also in our open cockpit cars, we do get a nice breeze coming in to the car, and we can feel that as well. So it's not so bad when we're driving. The worst part is when we're just sitting in the pit lane or wherever, just not moving.
Yeah.
Because we're just there and we're basically just baking and all of the heat. So that's really the worst part of it. So
that makes sense. I didn't think about the fact that you do, while you're racing, in that open cockpit, you do obviously the air circulates, so you get a little bit of a break, at least in that circumstance while you're making those laps.
Yeah.
So, intensely focused at Mid Ohio in that 13 turn road course. That's at least you get a little bit of air flowing. Hey, I just remembered something, Evagoras, that maybe our listeners don't know this. Hopefully, some of them happen to catch it. I was lucky enough to catch it, but you were doing a little bit of a guest commentator and offering some insights during that Pro 2000. I forget if it was race number 1 or race number 2 at Road America this past weekend. Tell us a little bit about that experience for you. Is that the first time that you've been in the booth sharing insights during a race, or what's that?
Yeah, it hasn't been my first time. I've done it before with Rob Howden.
Yeah.
But it was my first time of the year. Normally do it like once every year. But yeah, it was USF Pro 2000 Race 1 that I was up commentating. And actually, I had to be at the track way earlier than I would have for that, because their race was at like 8 in the morning. I didn't race till like 11 or noon.
Right.
So I had to, wake up earlier to go to that race, to commentate it. But I mean, I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy doing it. I always enjoy commentating with Rob Howden. He's a very nice guy, and he's very fun to be around. So yeah, I mean, I really like doing it.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's good for the people who are watching the broadcast, because my title on the commentary was driver analyst. So I'm kind of just giving an inside look of what the drivers are feeling and what they're thinking and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I happened to catch wind of it beforehand, so I tuned in. And, I might be a little biased because, I like to think we have a pretty good friendly relationship, you and I. But at the same time, I think anybody who was listening would also give you on that pat on the back and say, job well done. And enjoyed hearing that, as you said, the driver analyst aspect and those insights. Of course, I did have to laugh, as did Rob Howden, when they really set you up to talk about that one thing, and then I forget, was it? It was your Jay Howard guy that he made the move too early or something.
Yeah, I believe it was something regarding the number 6 in USF Pro.
Yeah, the idea was the strategy was patience, and they were setting you up to talk about that and what you do, and then boom, he made that move down in turn 2 or something, and changed the discussion. But Rob took note of it and said, well, for all the setting up we did for Evagoras, so much for that, So and you guys handled that well. Also, so that was a lot of fun. I hope that those who are listening to us now, I hope some of them got a chance to tune in, during that weekend, Saturday, June the 8th, and hear some of that from Road America, because that was good stuff. However, as you said, that ended up being an earlier day for you. Your race wasn't scheduled until 11 a.m., or you had to be at the track to race, and then the rains came.
A lot of rain. It was a lot. We went out on track for two, I forget what it was, 2 or 3 pace laps. We were supposed to start the race. So we went out, and it was really, really bad. There was parts of the track where even going at a pace lap speed, so very slow, like highway speeds basically, like we could not see a single thing at all with the spraying from the cars in front. Even with the car's rain light on, we could not see a single thing at all. Wow.
Yeah, like visibility 0.
Yeah.
That you can't race with visibility 0.
Yep.
So they stopped you, but and then I guess there was a delay. If I understand, for the folks listening, the last couple times I've been on hand. When you were at Indianapolis for the Indy Grand Prix, and then the Lucas Oil races on May 22nd through the 25th, but I was not at Road America, so I don't know. So is that what happened? You guys did a couple of pace laps, and then they stopped you, and you went into full rain delay mode. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So we went out for 2 or 3 pace laps, and then they called us in. There was a red flag race, and we were all just standing there on the pit lane, waiting to see if maybe it would clear up, hopefully, and just get at least a few more laps in. But because when we're racing with Indy Car, there's a very tight schedule that we have to work with. So we only have a certain amount of time to get our race in. But then once that time ran out, then we couldn't do anything, and we didn't eventually go racing for that race. But we did later that day, at around 5 o'clock, I believe, we did go racing again.
Right. And then this is where I really want you to offer your story of what happened. Obviously, you got out there before the rain started. You were doing the pace laps. The USF 2000 J. Howard driver development number 6, driven by Evagoras Papasavvas, was running those pace laps until you guys went red flag. And then when you were finally getting ready to get started again at 5 o'clock, take us through what happened to the number 6 on that, what should have been the first race for you at Road America on ultimately late Saturday.
But yeah, so, everything was fine, leaving the tent, going through the paddock, and then leaving, and even getting to the pre-grid, and even leaving the pre-grid as well. And then as we line up in pit lane, getting ready to start the race to go out for our pace lap, and then we go green. The car, it just shut off. My dash, I had no data from my dash or my steering wheel. It was all blank. And then I tried to start the car, and the car's not starting. So then the team comes over, and we're trying so many things, right? Rushing to get the car on track. We're changing steering wheels. We're taking body parts off of the car to see what's wrong. Even people even mechanics from other teams are coming over to help, and there's just like a whole swarm of mechanics over the car just trying to get it going. And but we ultimately could not get it going for the race, because once the race started, we couldn't get it going. So then for the rest of the race, the team just tried to work on the car and to figure out what went wrong. And then we realized that it was an ECU issue, that maybe some water from the race, from what was going to be race 1, got in somewhere with the electronics and fried it and messed up with it. And I wasn't the only one that had that problem. There was another driver in USF 2000 that had the same issue as me. So it wasn't like uncommon. But yeah.
Man, again, as you said, I had no idea that it turned out to be that swarm of people, which is really encouraging to hear that, this is a competitive sport, a competitive race sport, but everybody there to help everybody else is really cool, that there was a swarm of mechanics from the other teams, and everybody's, trying to get that, that Evagoras Papasavvas car. Now, when that swarm is happening and they're digging into things, are you sitting in the car, or what's Evagoras Papasavvas doing at that time?
Yeah, so I was sitting in the car for a little bit as they were, trying to get things, but then I had to get out the car because they had to take the seat out so that way they could really get behind it and really get to where kind of all of the electronics come together.
Right.
Right behind the driver's seat and right in front of the engine. So they had to get to there. So I had to get out. I kept all of my racing gear on, and I kept my helmet on and anything, just to at least, maybe if they get it fixed, I can just go out and just, even though, I wouldn't be in competition, I wouldn't be in contention, just get just 2 laps, 2-3 laps, just to do some more laps so I could just be more comfortable for when I do go racing.
Right. Well, I can only imagine, and I know, you have always portrayed, when we've talked about these things over the years, you have kept a very calm demeanor. remained very composed, but at the same time, Evagoras, I can only imagine the emotions you were feeling at the moment. What would you say? I mean, what was that like for you?
I mean, it was just like, it was just very frustrating. Because actually after that race, I dropped to third in the championship, so now I'm third in the championship because of that.
Right.
So it's frustrating because, you work so hard and, something like this out of your control happens. But it's also, it's the way racing is. Sometimes it's the way life works. And I mean, I have faith in God's plan and what will happen in the future, so we'll see. But, then that's really what's, just... And I'm remembering also to, stay positive, because that's really what matters. In times like these, it's how you handle those bad times. So, yeah, all I'm doing now is just looking forward to the next race at Mid-Ohio.
Well, you share a wonderful message, and I don't want to gloss over it. As you said, at a certain point, you're still in your racing gear. You still have your helmet on. You were just sharing a little bit about the emotions. And like I said, I don't want to gloss over it. Your faith in God and your knowledge that, at the end of the day, this is all part of God's plan. That's very important to you, right?
Yeah, it's very important to me. It's what, not only me, but what my family lives by. We are a religious family, and I think it's a blessing. And stuff like this happens. It happens for a reason. So yeah, I mean that's really just what keeps you going forward is having that faith that things will get better and knowing that things will get better.
Yeah. Well, people who have been listening / watching our podcast / videos. They get to, they've seen many images, and if they're paying attention, they've seen the helmet, the racing helmet that you wear. Part of your faith is right there on that helmet. Share a little bit about that story of your helmet and what's on your helmet that is kind of shares a little bit of your faith, your faith in God.
So my helmet, it's the Greek color scheme mixed with some cypress hints everywhere else. It's my ethnicity, so it's very good to embrace that. But at the top of my helmet, I have 12 stars that loop around my logo on the top of my helmet, and those 12 stars, each star represents one of the 12 disciples in the Bible.
That's a beautiful thing. I always think of it, since I learned that about the 12 stars on your helmet and the importance of the faith for you. I always thought of that as that halo of the apostles, that halo of the disciples, riding with you, just right there above you. And I mean, I don't know if you feel that the same way, but it's like that's kind of the message I took from it when you first shared that information with me. So I think it's good for the people to know, and it really, even for me, Evagoras, it helps explain, because as I said, you amaze me in some of the situations that clearly didn't go the way you were hoping, or maybe even the way that they should have, and you maintain a calm and composed, way about you, and a look forward to the next thing. It's a good thing to see, and especially in a young man like yourself going through the competitive circumstances that you go through as a professional race driver. But so let's go. So bottom line, recapping there, race 1 for Evagoras Papasavvas, which would have been race number 9 on the season, was a did not start. So there was no race 9 for you. However, after you guys found what the issue was in the electronics device, then that was a whole nother challenge, is finding a part, finding that device to replace it. But apparently, again, as I understand, you got some cooperation from another team. Is that true?
Yeah, so once we found the issue, it was the ECU.
Right.
The team did not have any extra ECUs, as the supplier is is having some troubles keeping up with the demand. So another team next to us had one, so we went over, and I believe we bought one from them as well. So we bought one from them, and then we were able to use it on our car, and we did end up competing in race 2.
And let's get to that, because it's a lot more fun to talk about actually racing than it is to talk about and the car died and then we battled to see what was wrong. So race number 10 for the USF 2000 series took place, and again, because of the rain and everything that happened on Saturday, you guys ended up racing a shortened race on Sunday, June the 9th. And as race number 10 for the season, but you were able to, the number 6 was out there, and you started and finished. And so tell me a little bit, how did that race go for you? How did that feel, especially after all of the events that took place Saturday?
Yeah, so that event, I was starting 7th, so not a very good starting position because of what happened earlier. I was just trying to make up as many positions as possible, but and I got myself up into 4th position, and I was challenging 3rd place. I was chasing down 3rd, and as I was doing that, I started to feel that like maybe the engine isn't giving me what it should be, and like compared to others, I felt like I was really lacking with the engine, and I wasn't getting all the power out of it. And at a track like Road America, where the front straight is almost like a mile long, and we reach speeds of 150 miles an hour, that's the one track where you need a good engine. So it was really, really tough for me to get 3rd and to hold 4th. So I was really just fighting as hard as I could in all of the corners to try and keep the positions and gain positions, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to fight in the corners,
right.
On the straight. I ended up finishing 5th in that shortened race. And maybe if it wasn't shortened and I had maybe another lap or 2, I maybe would have gotten 4th, but we'll never know. Yeah,
that was and I did get to watch the the live stream. Actually, I watched the video recording of it later after the race, and oh my gosh, there was some racing going on with you and the boys. I'll say, because as you said, you got up to 4th. You were battling to hold on 4th, looking for 3rd, and battling to hold on to 4th, and at the end, end up 5th. I mean, that was some racing. I mean, that, despite finishing 5th and not getting up into, obviously not getting the victory, not getting up into a podium position, still, how great was that? I mean, is that some great racing for you as well, or?
Yeah, it was some good, tough racing, hard racing, but fair racing, and that's the racing that I love. That's ultimately why we do this, because we love it. It was good to get that racing, even though we would have had a better result with a better engine.
I'm with you. Well, and I'm going to do this real quick. I'm not going to make you do it. So you kind of already touched on it. The did not start in race number 9 gave Sam Corey an opportunity to pick up the points he needed to move up a spot on you in the driver standings. So as it stands right now, Evagoras, you are in the 3rd spot in the driver championship standings, with Max Garcia leading the way and his teammate Sam Corey just slightly ahead of you. But so for the folks listening, Garcia is, he's pretty well out front right now. In the 1st spot with a 46-point lead over you, Evagoras, and 36-point lead over his teammate, but you are just 10 points in the driver point standings down from Sam Corey. And I think the theme remains the same, even for Bob Howden talking about it during that during that race 10 on Sunday. The commentators were still all about Evagoras Papasavvas and your consistency. And so for the people listening right now, here, give you an idea of the consistency that has you in the third spot and still, poised to move up in the driver point standings with 8 races remaining in the season. So far, there were 10 races on the board. You have raced in 9 of those. 8 top 5s, and 6 of those 8 top 5s were top 3s, with 4 of those being seconds, and 2 thirds, and you got a 4th and a 5th. And again, 9 races out of a 10 possible, you didn't start one, but out of those 9 races, 8 top 5s. The only one that wasn't a top 5 was that what was it? Race number 7 at Indianapolis in Grand Prix, which you were taken out by contact in turn 1 from another driver, and basically, in my opinion, his miscue caused damage to your car and took you out of that race. So in all of the races that you were able to start and finish, top 5s. That's pretty darn consistent, pretty good competitive championship driving. And I just wanted the listeners to know that. But next up, you got races number 11, 12, and 13 on the season. And you'll be doing that, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, talking about it. Boy, that's going to be the hot weekend, July 4th through 7th, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. What's your comments? Hey, put on that driver analyst hat for us for a second and give us an analysis of that 13-turn road course at Mid-Ohio and what you'll be looking for there.
Yeah, so Mid-Ohio was just recently repaved from last year, so it's going to be different in how we approach some things, regarding car setup. But also, like I said, I've said this multiple times already, we're on a new tire. We're on the Continental tire. Last year we were on the Cooper tire. So, with the repave and with the new tires, we already did have a test at Mid-Ohio in May. So we did get an introduction into what it would be like. But, I'm feeling ready. I'm excited for Mid-Ohio. It's my home race. I'm going to do the best that I can. And we're going to see what happens.
Well, you have to, again, I know you had the series test there middle of May, and like you said, got the introduction to that new surface and driving on the Continental tires this year instead of the Cooper. So are you, and again at the same time, in the back of your mind, USF 2000 race victory number 1 for Evagoras Papasavvas happened right there at basically your home course, Mid-Ohio, last year. So that, do you feel that? Does that kind of give you an extra boost of confidence going into that race, about a month from now?
Yeah, it does for sure. It gives me that extra confidence that, I've won there before. I've won there before. It gives me some extra confidence to do well again.
Well, you know that your friend here, Chuck Gibson, and all those who are listening in, and I know you got a whole lot of family and friends that listen in, we're all rooting for you, and Evagoras, I thank you so much for taking the time to join us here for another Evagoras Papasavvas racing race recap and a preview to what's coming up. So enjoy those 3 weeks. And I'm going to throw this out at you. We talked about it, a couple weeks ago. If there's a chance during those 3 weeks that you and I can get together and get on the bicycles and just go for a little fun ride, let's figure that out and get out and have a nice,
yeah, for sure,
nice day together. But hey, again, Evagoras, thank you so much for joining us, and definitely wish you the best during these next 3 weeks of break for you, and more than that, we wish you the very best as you go back to defend your victory at Mid-Ohio from last year. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Take care. Thanks again, Evagoras Papasavvas. Coming up next is the return to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where Evagoras claimed his first USF 2000 victory 1 year ago. The USF 2000 race season resumes there on July 4th through 7th, We'll be back with more Evagoras Papasavvas racing reports then. But for now, this is Chuck Gibson saying thanks for listening here on Loveland Beacon Talk Sports Special. Loveland Beacon Talk Sports Special and Evagoras Papasavvas Racing Reports are a presentation of Loveland Beacon Digital Media and Gibson Communications, LLC.